What's up, everyone? We're gonna wipe out a little bit of few mountain bandits because they're messing with a patrol nearby my city, and they're gonna get rammed here. So we're gonna also, while we take out these mountain bandits, I don't even need to be here really. We're gonna talk about how I forgot what I was gonna talk about in this video. I had a topic before I tabbed, and then I forgot it when I was all tabbing. So, because it's time for a new topic in video game. Combat. Let's talk about combat in games, because some people say the Mountain Blade combat is clunky and slow, but I think the Mountain Blade combat is fucking exemplary for good combat, and I'll show you guys why. Blah, blah, blah. We're gonna go up here, enter the arena. About melee fights! Yeah, I'm gonna jump in there and fight people. So, we're in this battle royale here thing. I'm getting bricked on. I got bricked on. I got resurrect. We're gonna try it again. So the combat in this game is excellent. Is you can out. I don't really have the agility on this character to really do a lot of foot if you get high mobility, you can just straight outmaneuver people. And yeah, it's all about blocking at the right time and attacking at the right opening. And it's all about, I mean, it is a much older game than people are really used to seeing. So there's elements of the game that could be for sure improved, and hopefully they'll be improved in Bannerlord. Like some people say the combat is clunky, and I can see where they say that from for sure. But the combat, more than being clunky, is more about being able to read what your opponent's doing, and being able to safely choose whether or not. See, I got charged there by his horse, and then he opened my face up, and I got started because he'd already loaded a strike. Then read it. Oh, I'm almost done for. Oh, and starched on. At least I stuffed 7 people there. The combat in this game, good combat, should be more about making the right choices, reading what your opponent's going to do, and gaming your opponent, getting them to play into what your strengths are, taking them out of their weak, taking them out of their game, and putting them into your game, making them fight your fight instead of other combat, which would be we've been talking a whole lot about scale. So scale combat involves none of that. Scale combat, like World of Warcraft combat, is all just, well, I have more numbers than you, therefore I can do whatever the fuck I want. Still not, it's not always that bad, but having more numbers than other people. Or let's just go crush these horsemen really quick, keep the morale up. Having more numbers. See, here is a battle of scale. I mean, my troops are just better than theirs, but I also have 167 units. I don't need to make any calls. In early game Mountain Blade, where I don't have nearly as many units, if I run into a pack like this, I have to kill them all basically myself or lose all of my units. So I have to make this right here is a very good explanation of scale versus skill. They can't deal with the scale of my army. I'm not actually doing anything here. I just told them to attack once. Now, in the combat there is a much smaller scale. There wasn't hundreds of horsemen running around like there are there in that fat group of horsemen right there that I have. But what is happening in the combat is I have to pay a lot more attention to what I'm doing because I could out of anywhere get starched. Just get my day wrecked. And it could just end poorly for me. Tip of a hat. Like you guys saw in the first battle, I got Rizzle wrecked on. I just got wrecked because I wasn't making the right choices. I wasn't playing properly. There was times where I could have won that engagement against the two spearmen, but I missed. I missed all of my opportunities. And I didn't play as well as I should have been, and so therefore I lost. No matter what the NPCs did here, there was no way they were going to win because I just had too many freaking dudes. I just had my my scale was too much. I mean, the scale of exactly what I was talking about is the scale of how many dudes I had versus the scale of how many dudes they had meant I could have said, and this is the way it works with the worst units in the game. I find I'm gonna let that guy go. 24 dudes. This nation's an end. I should probably take the rest of their castles. I don't want to because I don't have a castle taking army. We're recruiting volunteers. So yeah, choices versus scale. You should have to. Now we're gonna go back here to illustrate the difference and enter the arena. Oh, the arena door is locked. Oh, assassins! Be assassins! Oh, it's bandits. I don't like bandits much. Took an arrow there. But I got pretty decent armor. So the problem with uh the problem with scale versus skill is that scale doesn't require any skill. Scale only requires scale. Scale only requires the numbers that you already have to beat the opponent. Skill is always changing. No matter how good you think you are, there's always somebody out there who's better than you. There's somebody out there who does what you do but better. And you're never going to win. Never gonna win. Now I'm gonna go crush that right there. That looks like a tasty victory. After we crush this and talk about scale versus. Now this is gonna be on scale. These two dudes are gonna have about the amount of same as men as I do. But because I have higher tier troops, I still don't have to do anything. I have possibly like out of the Lords of Mountain Blade, the single player game, I have one of the stronger armors you can form in this game. It's pure horseman. It's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy hit when you get struck by this. But here I'm gonna have to make a lot more careful choices just because there's not 40 guys versus my 160 horsemen. There's much more opportunity for me to die here instead of me just you know, reaming them. I mean, I am reaming them and I don't have to be here. But say my army wasn't as good as it was, I would have to play much more correctly than I would normally if I didn't have the army I would. I would have to play a lot better against this than I did versus the bandits because one, the scale of the battle, our scale is matching scale, forcing me into choosing more logical choices to get to victory, but two, because the margin for danger for me is higher because of this, partially because of the scale, partially because of the combat and the way I play this game. So, with the difficulty, with the risk and the difficulty being on my parts, higher on my end, it's more dangerous and more difficult for me to achieve. On this end, with the numbers, I have to play more correctly and use more skill in my combat. Otherwise, I'm gonna get an arrow to the face and I'll fucking lose stats. Yeah, that's bad. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough, this gameplay, talking about scale versus skill. That didn't require any skill. I'll show you guys. I'm not as good as I used to be in Mount Blade combat. I used to be fucking astounding at this combat, but that's because I played a lot more. Used to be a lot better at every game I played, because I played it a lot more. But scale versus skill. Scale is not skill. Skill is not scale. They're two different things, and you should focus on both of them. Really, you should be able to get a large, because you should be able to build something of large scale and perform something of high skill. You probably need to do both. You should get used to scale, and you should gain skill. Because in games, we have them both. In some games, you really do have them both. Like this game. There's a little bit of scaling going on. Well, a lot of scaling going on in this game. But before scaling matters, before you're fighting like thousands of men and using like yourself, like got like 400 dudes in your army, the skill you will need to get there in lower tiers is much more, because once you get to an army like this, you don't need any skill. I don't need to do anything. I can just screw off and not pay attention to anything with this army. I can just ream people. Now, in the early game, you have to be on your P's and Q's if you want to raise a proper army. Get rich while you're doing it. To win a bunch of tournaments, become a die baron while you're coming up. You're gonna have to be on your P's and Q's, making the right choices about routes, making the right choices about how to avoid enemies on the map. When you don't avoid the enemies on the map, you have to make the right choices in the combat to prevent your men from dying. That's the difference between scale and skill. I'm out of here. Peace.